Wonderful being here, my alma mater. I was a member of George Washington's first ever kindergarten class back in 1957, thereabouts, 56, 57, 58, it was a long time ago. I very much appreciate every chance I get to talk to young people, because I always like to deliver one very special message. Every generation has a chance, an opportunity to change the world. Most generations do not take advantage of that opportunity. I like to think that in my generation, I grew up in New York, we made a difference. We ended the Vietnam War. Unfortunately, we didn't do much more, but that was a big achievement. But I said most generations do not take the opportunity, they let it go to waste. When you're young, your only responsibilities are, you go to school, you do your work, you're a good family member, but you're not married, you don't have obligations. You can be idealist, and you still are an idealist when you're young. You want to change the world. I hope that dream lives on forever. Okay, now down to what we came to talk about. The overarching message behind my words is not only UN. I mean, the model UN will bring you into this whole world scene. I think the overarching message is we all belong to a world community, and we all have to integrate into this world community. Nevertheless, we're still Cartageneros. So we have to find a way to combine, to blend a cohesive manner to think. This expression's been around for decades. Think global, act local. I'll give you an example of this, a specific example of think global, act local. The city of Cartagena has always been very much closed off, the same people running the place, the same politicians, the same local groups, the same people fighting for the same 3 pesos, which was our budget. They're all like rats, gnawing at each other. Nobody ever thought, hey, let's take our head out of the sand and look, there's a world out there. There's a world out there. And Cartagena is part of that world. No mayor of Cartagena had ever traveled abroad to present Cartagena, to look for opportunities, to integrate into the world community. A mayor would go sign papers for a loan, or go because somebody gave him an appointment. Well, last October, we planned what I call the introduction to world society of the very world famous city of Cartagena de Indias. We went up, I spent 3 weeks in Washington and in New York, saying, hey, we're Cartagena, here we are, world scene. And everybody had heard of Cartagena. And for example, when we went to the Bloomberg Foundation in New York, they said, oh my gosh, this is the first time ever that the city of Cartagena has participated in any international activities. We give out money, grants, programs, foundations. Cartagena never raised its hand. So we went to Bloomberg, we went to Transparency International, we went to USAID, we went to Congress, State Department, we went everywhere. And then we went to New York, and people were waiting for us there, bankers. We had a breakfast that was held, sponsored specifically for the mayor of Cartagena, with 2 Nobel Economics Prize laureates went there. Cartagena has so much potential, but we've never thought about internationalizing, about taking Cartagena from over here in Fango and putting it up there in the international community where we belong. That is up to you folks to continue doing. And we made plenty of contacts. Things that we can come bring to Cartagena. And this is all part of the international cooperation. We looked at certain things like, over here we have the landfill, mal llamado relleno sanitario, un basurero. We've had this causing huge environmental problems for Cartagena for decades because the corrupt politicians did it. Well, in New York we met with a company that says, hey, we can help not only to avoid these landfills, but to take all that waste, turn it into energy, and you can capitalize and sell it instead of people paying you to take the garbage. We'll pay you to give us your garbage. It can make $20 million a year. That's the kind of things we were looking into. We were looking into a trade exposition, a new convention center. We're looking at Plan Maestro de Alcantarillado for the city's rainwater, which is so needed. We're looking at environmental projects. The mangroves, el mangle. There is no plant on earth, not a single different kind of plant that combats global warming more than mangroves, than the mangle. Well, heck, we have to bring millions and millions and millions of dollars here to grow the mangroves. International, local. International, you remember the Glasgow conference held in Scotland a few months ago. The biggest environmental conference in the world. This huge environmental funds with billions and billions of dollars. Cartagena has to share in that. Cartagena is one of the 40 cities most prone to global warming. But the world has seen the problem, and the world is willing to help. Global. We in Cartagena, local, we need to bring that down to here. And that's something we're working on. I'll give you another example of global and local. I've been an anti-corruption activist for over 25 years. I've never been a politician. The first time I did anything political was when I ran for mayor of Cartagena. And the only reason I did it is because I had been an anti-corruption activist for 25 years, throwing rocks at corrupt government. Hey, get lost. Hey, don't steal the money. I didn't want to grow old and die still throwing rocks at them. I said, I've got to take power away from them. So that's why I ran for mayor. But I've never been a politician before. I've always been an anti-corruption activist. I filed my first criminal accusations against a fiscal back in 1996, I believe. From there on, it's been hundreds of public officials. I will not tolerate corruption. Nevertheless, in Cartagena and in Colombia in general, corruption thrives, it breeds. This is a wonderful breeding ground for corruption. Why? Because it's not a lack of laws, it's because the Colombian legal system is part of the problem. I've always said they eat off the same plate. I left Colombia back in 2004, fleeing from death threats for my work as an anti-corruption activist. And I swore that someday I would come back to finish that fight. I did in 2019, and in just 4.5 months, campaigning, fortunately the people of Cartagena believed in me and elected me mayor. But everybody expected me to, okay, we elected you mayor, now wipe out corruption. Everything's gonna change overnight. The city's gonna go from this downward spiral, all of a sudden we're gonna be a first world city. No, that's not gonna happen. The fight has been hard. The fight against corruption is not a fight that we can win by ourselves, all on our own. For this, we need international cooperation. For this international cooperation, they're not going to come looking for us. We have to look for international help. That is why I told you about the trip to the US in October. In December, I went to the United Nations Conference on the Convention Against Corruption, called the UNCAC, United Nations Convention Against Corruption, which was held in Egypt, in the city of Sharm el-Sheikh. hey, that opened up my eyes to a whole new world. I saw that I wasn't alone in fighting corruption. Whereas over here I'm worried, el procurador me va a denunciar, el contralor me va a ganar sueldo. And I thought I was all alone. In Colombia, the authorities won't help you. I thought I was all alone until I went to Egypt. And I saw people from practically every government in the world were there. Ministers, specialists, all kinds of, and I saw there's so much help to be made, to be obtained in the world of anti-corruption. And that is how now we in Cartagena are working with the United States Department of State, where we're starting to work with the United Nations Office Against Drugs and Crime, to bring the fight to corruption to Cartagena and level the playing field. As mayor of Cartagena, it's an uphill battle to go up against the Fiscalía, Contraloría, Procuraduría, but with international help, I trust that we can do it. Also, on the international level, the city of Cartagena has never really had an international cooperation office. There's so much aid, assistance out there in the world. There are so many kind souls, so many governments willing to help third world, but nobody's ever gone out there. Well, when I took office, I'm sorry for dragging out, I'll try to make it short. When I first took office, I named as head of my International Cooperation Office for Cartagena. This lady I met, she's a Cachaca, has been living in Cartagena many years, but I met her in Colombia, in New York. She was studying at Columbia University as an Obama scholar, the first promotion of Obama scholars from around the entire planet after a very lengthy, rigorous process. She was selected as one of 15 Obama scholars. I brought her down here. Well, she came down, and she became our head of International Cooperation Office. She has brought millions and millions and millions of dollars of foreign aid and foreign assistance to Cartagena. That is the importance for all of you to think that you are part of the international community. We bring in help for the Venezuela migrant crisis, for global warming, for water. For example, right now we just started with the government of Holland. We joined a program called WALL, which is water as leverage. They're going to provide all the technical background and do all the studies, and eventually down the road they'll even look for the financing to fix all the water problems Cartagena has. Cartagena is a city surrounded by water. So, well, just to finalize, thank you for hearing me. Bye-bye, and tu papá te quiere.